Hi, UCF. You know, true story, we announced this tour, it was quite a few months ago, and at the time it was already a pretty crazy tour. I think we were looking to go to maybe 130 stops, about 50 universities, and UCF was not on the original itinerary. I'm sorry to say, I take full responsibility for that. But, so many of you, via the Twitters, via the Reddits, were reaching out and said, no, you idiot, you gotta come to UCF. And so voila, here it is. This is all you're doing. So thank you. Thank you for welcoming me, my team here. And I hope we can have some fun for the next 30 minutes while I talk to you about a little bit of my own story, and then interview one of your very own on stage here to talk about how Dan has built his own empire after graduating from UCF. But first and foremost, please take note of the hashtag for this talk. If you are interested in using your laptop or mobile device, I encourage it. I won't take it personally. Even if you're ignoring me, that's fine. That's fine. That's the startup way. And at the very least, just be ready. Because in the next hour, I hope I can give you the lecture that I wish I had gotten when I was in school. All right, but first and foremost, I should get something out of the way, right? As you heard, I tend to be pretty well known for having created the brands, the logos, the mascots of 3 different startups that I helped start. Reddit, of course, hopefully you guys all know. Just quick show of hands, how many of you are Redditors? Huzzah, great, excellent. Thank you for Redditing. Thank you very much. You guys all have also identified yourselves as the least productive people at this school. So there's that. Sorry, not sorry. The alien actually came about because I was bored in marketing class my senior year at UVA, and I just kind of doodled at the margins, and lo and behold, it became what it is today. Now, Hipmunk, Chipmunk, Bread Pig, they have their own stories. But I just basically really like mascots, and I'm not the only one who likes mascots. Obviously, every university has its mascot, has its icon. You all have chosen the knight, which is a very good one, very formidable. I've been to schools with like Quakers for mascots, which I would not want to be on my side in a fight. Others have interesting creatures. Some of them just have weird things. I haven't gone to Ohio State yet, but I'm looking forward to learning what a Buckeye is. I think it's a bean. But anyway, you guys know what the knight. Now, it's interesting, knights have a huge history, right? There's the famous Black Knight from Monty Python. In theory, formidable. In reality, maybe not so much. He was determined, if nothing else. And then, of course, there's the Dark Knight, probably one of the most spectacular knights, the Batman. Instead, you guys have chosen to embody your knight as this guy, who's clearly knows how to have a good time. Wouldn't necessarily be running into combat first, but at the very least, has fun crowd surfing, which I like. I like this, right? It's one of the upsides of having a cute creature that you can get into a costume of and then do random things with. But look, okay, this isn't about mascots. I just like commenting on them because they make me smile. It's about startups. It's about the internet and how it's changing the world. Some of you may have heard a rumor that went around by a guy named Tom Friedman. Now, he has a very compelling mustache. He wrote a book called The World is Flat, and obviously it is not, right? The Greeks knew this, we know this, it's not flat. But while the world may not be flat, the World Wide Web is. And that's a pretty cool idea. If we have net neutrality, if all links are created equal, then it is the world's largest stage and library in one. Any one of us with an internet connection has access to unprecedented amounts of knowledge, not only being able to find it and seek it out, but also share it. I mean, it's a mind job. Elon Musk recently was quoted as having pointed this out very well. He said, you know, today someone with a smartphone has access to more knowledge than the President of the United States did some 30 or 40 years ago. That's amazing, amazing, the advantages that we have today. And I hope we don't take them for granted, because it's powerful, just like the Power Glove. I mean, it's not actually, Power Glove is a terrible way to play video games, but hear me out. In theory, this is very, very powerful. And I was lucky enough to get exposed to it at the tender young age of, I don't know, it was around 15. Yeah, high school was really good to me. Just pointing out something though, look, for those of you who may be laughing at the bowl cut, it's coming back, all right? There is a hipster somewhere who's gonna start this trend, and it's gonna be cool. But look, I was lucky because I got a 33.6 internet connection into my home, and my parents had, neither one of them really knew much about technology, but they saved up enough money to get me a 486SX computer. That PC sat in my room for a few years. We finally got an internet connection at 33.6, and it changed my life. Because as a teenager, I had classwork that seemed so stupid. and I could come home and I could have a website. I had a GeoCities. Everyone always remembers their first, right? geocities.com/Silicon Valley/hills/4924. And that was my Quake 2 fan page. And it had animated GIFs, sorry, it's GIFs, of flaming skulls, like a rail gun, rocket launcher. It was the lamest website ever. Blink tag, I'm so happy they got rid of that in HTML. But the point is, for me, this was so empowering, right? Millions of people all over, tens of people all over the world saw my website, and it felt so great. And I could see that counter go up, and I felt so good, even though it was just me reloading, and I would learn that for a little while later. It felt amazing. It felt powerful. And I started doing more web development. I started reaching out to total strangers, organizers of nonprofits on message boards saying, hey, you don't have a website. Your website's pretty lame. Like, let me help build one for you. They didn't know I was this dorky kid in my bedroom. They just knew I was someone who had a skill they didn't have. And so I was making websites for nonprofits for free, just for fun, just because I wanted to practice and because it seemed really, really cool. And well, you know, this was an amazing opportunity, and it still pales in comparison to how I would reckon many of you were lucky enough to grow up, right? For so many of you, I'm 30 now, all right? The fact that the giants that Steve and I had, whose shoulders we could stand on, enabled us to do Reddit, Hitmonk, all the things we've done since. But those giants that we had pale in comparison to the giants you all have today. This is amazing power. And for incumbents, they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. Bain actually sums this up really well, if you'll indulge me, when speaking to the incumbents, the ones who know the internet's changing everything, yeah? They merely adopted the internet. We were born in it, molded by it. And all right, I'm not gonna do the whole thing like that, but it's an excuse that I can't mind. It's great though, because as soon as I realized you could do that with a microphone, I'd just be like, waffles, random words. The point is, you know, software is eating the world. Mark Andreessen famously said that in a Wall Street Journal op-ed, and it is so true. And the internet is a delivery mechanism for that software. Actually, by quick show of hands, how many of you are developers or are learning how to write code? Great, amazing, wonderful. All of you with your hands up, great. You have the most valuable skill of this century. Good news. Okay, for the rest of you, there's still good news. It is also one of the most freely available skills to learn. Right? What's amazing is whether it's Zuckerberg or my co-founder Steve Huffman, they're all largely self-taught using free resources and communities online. And those communities have gotten so much better over the last 8 years. Things like Codecademy, Rails for Zombies, Stack Exchange. I'll tell you, spoiler, great developers don't know every function. They haven't memorized everything. They're just really good at seeking out answers. Right? That's it. Spoiler, okay? So what's so cool is here's this amazing skill. You don't need to be a CS major to do it, but it helps. But you can start learning it right now. Because if we imagine this new frontier, which I really believe the internet to be, in a bunch of industries that we know are getting affected, we just don't know how yet. Those of us who are exploring it, those of us who are on the front lines of this, we are like, you can be like Lewis and Clark, and I'll be Sacagawea, okay? And for those of us, though, who can actually build this new frontier, you're building the ground that we explore. You're building the frameworks that many of us will get to benefit from, right? You know, by creating Kickstarter, a whole generation of creatives are now able to receive funding, right? $1 billion. $1 billion is how much money has flowed from individuals like you and me to creatives, artists working on projects in just the last, 4 years since Kickstarter started? That's on one platform. This is a new world. We don't know where it's all headed. The incumbents certainly don't know. And it means, it means we have an opportunity, right? They're like well-intentioned grandma. What channel is the Netflix? She asks. And who could blame her, right? House of Cards, Orange is the New Black. I would want to be there too. I want to be on that channel. Turns out it's not a channel. It's not quite how it works, right? There's a kind of fluency that those of us who understand this technology have, and it is one of our greatest assets. For us millennials, there's been so much uncertainty, economically, politically, so much of the stuff that we've been sold has turned out to be less than accurate. This is an opportunity because this is a technology we know is changing the world, and we have another level of understanding of, and it's this opportunity that I hope we take full advantage of. In fact, are there any of you right now who are working on projects that you're especially proud of? Well, the first hands come up, right? Would you be interested in coming up here and just pitching everyone what you're working on? Yeah. That was an emphatic, can we clap it up? Come on, knights. You can if you, I mean, however you would best present it. And this is gonna look like it was planned because you did not, to be clear, you did not know that I was gonna do this. We chatted a bit earlier, but I swear I wasn't like, listen, put your hand up immediately when I ask for volunteers.
Yeah.
It was not planned. Okay, all right, well, go ahead. Tell everyone what you're working on.
My name is Michael Garber. I'm working on
I'll hold this way.
Doge coins. For those of you who don't know, Doge won the 2013 meme of the year, and it's now becoming one of the fastest growing subreddits on Reddit, which is the front page of the internet. And I love it. I'm so excited about what's going to happen. I think everybody says we're in an information age, but I think with each age, it gives rise to a new age. And right now we're in the processing age, and people are getting together and using their skills freely, open source, and their time for the better of the world. And it's going to be a truly beautiful place in 10 years. And I mean, we're in our infancy stages still. We haven't even seen what's to come. It's going to be awesome.
And
to the moon.
Right on.
To the moon.
That was the sign top of the book. Thank you.
I think that the passcode for that, if you ever redeem it, it's 11337.
Duly noted. Very elite indeed. Thank you. We're gonna hang out afterward. Do signing, all that stuff.
Okay, cool.
I'm not going anywhere. There we go. Look there. Awesome. Thank you. Clap it up one more time. Seriously. Thank you, because every single university, I do this at a random point in the talk because I like proving this thesis that I know among your ranks everywhere there are people already doing stuff that they're extremely passionate about, extremely excited about, just building stuff, not waiting for permission to do it, just doing it, making cool things. And every single time it happens, there's always another passionate, spirited pitch about what is being worked on. And it was also a lesson that I was lucky enough to learn while I was in school from a professor who told me, listen, there are people everywhere who have great ideas and the potential to do great stuff, but it's a matter of taking initiative, taking opportunities when they present themselves. And even if they are as random as some guy on stage saying, hey, does anyone have some cool thing they're working on, and putting your hand up. So the next time someone does do that, I hope every single one of you races to get your hand up first and talk about the thing you're passionate about. But as you saw from all those hands, there's a lot of cool stuff happening right now. So don't hold back. And I should confess, all right, spoiler, okay? Ideas alone, they are worthless. They are. Execution is everything, right? This is why, like I said, it is so important to be learning those skills about building, about creating in this new age. Because having ideas is one thing, doing them is another, and there's still plenty of things that need to happen in order for something to become a success. Now, Steve and I did not start with Reddit. Our first company was called My Mobile Menu, or And yeah, nice little acronym there. And we were going to let people order food from their cell phones without waiting in line. So this was back 2004. So keep in mind, this was before smartphones. Like the smartest phone back then was a BlackBerry. Oh, too soon. Or maybe like a Palm Trio, you know? So, but we thought, all right, we can figure this out maybe through text. We can build a system, right? People shouldn't have to wait in line. If they're going to the same Frappuccino, just place the order 5 blocks away. And when you walk up, it's there waiting for you. And so we were so convinced we were going to, so we spent our whole year, senior year, we had incorporated a company, I had business cards made, I was talking to every restaurateur in Charlottesville, Virginia, and then we heard about this thing called Y Combinator. We thought, all right, let's check this out. It's this guy named Paul Graham, who had founded a company in the first boom, sold it to Yahoo, and then was just sort of living as an internet pundit, and he had this idea about making a seed stage venture firm where they gave a little bit of money. At the time, it was about $6,000 per founder of an investment to basically live for 3 months and do nothing but write code, get users, and play World of Warcraft. And we both hit 60 that summer. Yeah. That was the cap back then, by the way, before you get all, yeah, that was the cap. And we thought, this is perfect, this is amazing. We're gonna apply with it's gonna be great. We do, they invite us for an interview. It goes really well. We just crush it. That night, they call us up and they reject us. And we get drunk because we didn't expect that outcome. And it sucked. And the next morning, hungover on a long train ride back to Virginia, Paul calls. And he says, you know what? We still don't like your idea. Oh, thanks, Paul. Okay. But we like you guys. And if you're willing to change your idea, get rid of it's too early, it's not going to work. Come up with something new in a browser that solves a problem you have every morning, and we'll let you in. So we get on the next train right back to Boston. We were somewhere in Connecticut, I think. We get up to Boston. We sit down with Paul for about an hour, and what comes out of that is the very earliest stages of what would be Reddit. It was essentially build something, a web platform, allows people to find out what is new and interesting online, 24/7. And at the time, Steve had been reading, he was an avid Slashdot user. You can see a lot of inspiration from that. I had just really fallen in love with tabs, which was a new feature in browsing back then. Really dating myself now. But I would have all these news websites open every morning, and I thought, you know what? I ran a PHP BB forum when I was in college. I saw the value of these discussions. I figured there had to be a better way, right? And Steve and I got to talking about this. And this was us. This was us the very first day of Y Combinator. This is the first photo, the founders of Reddit, me and Steve. Look at us, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. You'll notice I already have a mascot. I've already made a shirt. We still don't have a product figured out yet. And I already have a Reddit alien on a shirt that I'm wearing, which I don't recommend. It was not the best order of operations, but I really like the mascot. And Steve, if you may be able to tell from this photo, still looks the exact same to this day because he's a vampire. And one of the things you may not be able to tell from the photo, but you can thanks to image enhancing software, Enhance, is I had no idea what I was doing. Neither Steve nor I had any clue what we were doing. None whatsoever. And this brings up an important point. Anytime anyone comes before you talking about anything whatsoever, and if they ever front, like they have it all figured out, they're either lying or delusional, okay? I am still in a perpetual state of figuring stuff out. Experience, expertise, those things all help making decisions, but I can assure you, never have any damn clue. Never any clue. You're just figuring it out always. And so whatever it is you're thinking about doing right now, if you see something or someone at a certain place where you want to be or something you want to do not let I don't know what I'm doing stop you from getting started, because no one knows. We are all figuring this stuff out. And I'll prove it, all right? This is the first version. This is the first version of Reddit. In minutes after we put it online. Now, obviously, it's not going to win any beauty contests today, but back then, it certainly wasn't. You could see a few things from this. One, you can see my first submission. It was a link to the Downing Street memo. And you can also see that I have -1 karma over there. Yeah, it's because Steve is a dick. You see, he downvoted the first link ever submitted on Reddit. And there was just 2 of us. So I knew who it was, right? It's a small room, right? There's just 2 computers. I'm looking over, I'm like, really? 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 Ugh. But that was the first version. It's janky, all right? I'll be the first to admit it, janky, all right? But that's okay. The first version of everything is always janky. You have, as long as it's solving a problem, it's okay to be janky. Get over the embarrassment. There's no grade on this, all right? The first version of Twitter, Facebook, all those things, they always start out janky. The first Iron Man, remember? Janky, right? But it solved the problem. Got Tony Stark out of that prison. Solved the problem. Janky is okay as long as it solves a problem, all right? And this, where we're at today, these numbers were not anywhere in our heads, okay? We just wanted to build something that let us keep living like college students for hopefully as long as possible. We wanted to build something that would solve a problem and hopefully have new and interesting content bubbling up and down. That was it. This was not in our heads. It does not start this way ever for anyone. It starts out here. It starts out here with 2 kids who don't know what the hell they are doing. Still don't. And then you find out about your competition, which I did a week after we launched, even though they'd been out for over 6 months. Dig.com. And I found the email that, I swear to you, the first email where we learned about them, I sent a company-wide email to Steve saying, meet the enemy, dig.com. I sent this around. We had a meeting in the office, or the kitchen, and it was a little, I was scared. I mean, there's no other way to say it. I was scared. Here was a company that had been around. It was a similar platform, different but similar, that clearly knew how to use CSS, that was founded by a celebrity who announced the thing on his TV show, right? Like, he didn't actually announce that it was his, but he announced it on his TV show. He had a celebrity following. He was in Silicon Valley. Magical Silicon Valley, right? Land of unicorns and term sheets. And there we were in a suburb of a suburb of a suburb of Boston, Medford, sitting in this little rented apartment with 12 grand in the bank, thinking, damn it. They had VC funding. They were everything we thought was right with a startup, with a company. That seemed like that was clearly the way to be doing things, and what the hell were we doing? We had some advisors, very good ones, who said to us, listen, do not care for a second about your competition. Don't pay any attention whatsoever. And they were so absolutely right. They said they won't beat you, you will beat yourself. And so whatever it is you're doing, if there isn't competition now, there's going to be. Ignore, 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 because that instant you start paying attention is when you stop innovating. And just really, take it from Grumpy Cat, all right? You think Grumpy Cat cares about Grumpy Cat's competitors? No. Grumpy Cat wakes up every morning looking as grumpy as ever, because Grumpy has run out of dams to give, okay? So remember Grumpy, don't forget that. And also, remember the people who are willing to try out that thing you're doing. And this is not, I frame this in startups because from Reddit, from Hitmonk, these are the things I think about. But look, this applies whether it's your first Kickstarter campaign or whether it's your first Tumblr blog. Like the first people willing to give a damn about whatever you have made, who are not your mom, because moms are amazing and they always care. They are awesome, those people, right? This is the first person who ever wrote an article ever about Reddit. And now how do I know this? Right? I know this because I remembered enough about his blog that I could scour the Wayback Machine for a random dude named Andrew's TypePad blog, okay? This was not TechCrunch. TechCrunch didn't even write about us until the day we got acquired. They ignored us for the first 2 years, all right? This is a dude named Andrew, and look at the first 2 comments on this random dude's blog. Steve, my co-founder, and me. We're just talking to him. He's asking us if it's okay to put up our logo. And we're like, sure, that's great. Go a little further. Steve's giving tech support to this dude in the comments of his blog. This guy doesn't have a clout score. This guy does not have 1 million Twitter followers. This is just the first human being who we did not know or browbeat to actually like our site enough to talk about it somewhere else. And today, of course, with social media, those discussions happen all the time. This was 2005, so it's a little harder to see this feedback. Now it's happening in real time everywhere you go. So embrace, please, those people who are willing to try out your thing or buy something from your Etsy store. Those people are golden. They're wonderful. They're like waffles. Waffles changed my life. I walked out of an LSAT prep course because I was hungry. And my buddy Jack Thorman and I went to a Waffle House in Virginia. And I realized I liked waffles more than the law. And so I decided not to be a lawyer. That's true. That is really a true story. And I was like, what the hell am I going to do now? Yes, waffles. Either you hate lawyers or you love waffles or both. All are acceptable, right? And that changed my life. The waffles come a little bit later too, because I talked about the people who will support, the first ones, the earliest ones, right? There are going to be haters. All right. One of my favorite hater stories happened 4 months into Reddit. Steve and I were invited to Yahoo. You guys remember that company? Yeah. And an executive there had invited us out. We sat down, took a meeting. We were so excited. We're going to Yahoo. They just turned purple. Like, we sit down and he's like, pitch us. So we're like, okay. We start talking about Reddit. Get about, a few minutes in, and he just cuts us off. He's like, just stop. I was like, hold on a second. How many users do you guys have anyway? We look at each other and we're like, well, we just launched. But it's growing week over week. It's probably about 8,000 or 9,000. He's like, you guys are a rounding error compared to Yahoo. What are you even doing here? I'm like, well, you invited us. Was that the plan? Is that like a Yahoo hazing thing? That you invite startups over and then just be mean to them? So that meeting did not go well. We flew back to Boston, and the next day I put something up on my wall next to my desk. It was just a few words on a piece of paper. It just said, you are a rounding error. And I wanted to look at that every single morning so I could know exactly who we were proving wrong. And this became my wall of negative reinforcement. And he's still in tech. I've never name checked him because I don't want to, because if I hope to cross paths with him, I will thank him because of all the ammunition he provided me for all those years. To this day, I still think of that dude's quote. I now have a Dropbox wall of negative reinforcement, so I can have it all digitally. But really, this is a reality, right? There are going to be haters. There are going to be constructive critics in your life who are amazing. They're the ones who challenge you. They're the ones who make you better. They're the ones who keep it real. They're going to be the straight up haters. Haters going to hate. We know that, right? Eat them for waffles. Sorry, eat them for breakfast like waffles. You can eat them for waffles too. That would be weird. But really, eat them, use them as motivation. Not literally, of course. Because look, failure is an option. You can't read that down there, but it's when your best just isn't good enough. Failure. Okay, I really can't stress this enough because by virtue of the fact you are all here, you're good at not failing, right? You're good at doing well on tests, doing well on grades, getting the next level. Listen, after this, after school, there are no more grades, there are no more syllabi, all right? Failing is just a part of life, especially if you're an entrepreneur, but just in general. It's okay, right? Like sucking Sucking is the first step to being sort of good at something. All right? Really, like, that's just life. We all start out sucking if we're trying to learn any new thing or do any new thing, and that's okay. We have these opportunities now to get started sucking right now while you're in school. I mean, really, go forth and suck. Do not take that out of context when you tweet it later. But really, that's just learning new stuff. That is okay. And again, it's not just about startups. One of my favorite stories is about a dude who failed out of the University of Georgia. Couldn't hold a job afterward. His friends and family were worried. And he said, no, I got it. I am going to move to New York and take pictures, take photos. They were like, you don't even have a camera. You actually suck at taking photos. Like, no, this is a terrible idea. He's like, I know, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to get a camera. I'm going to try to get better. And then, months go by, and then they become years. And he started a blog. He started taking these photos. He started looking for more inspiration online. He started talking to the people he was photographing. In 3 years, that total failure became Humans of New York. He is now, clap it up for Brandon Sten. He is, if only, and here's Brandon. No, he's not here. I'm sorry. But really, this guy was by all accounts a total failure 3 years ago. 3 years ago. Who just got started, who got passionate about something and has made it work. He's now one of the most viewed photographers in the world. Millions of people see this dude's photos. Millions, literally. And it's amazing to know that he can reach his maximum potential for awesome now. And in a world without the internet, I don't know how that would have been possible. I just don't know. And he's just one example, but it makes me happy. I'm a proud cat dad. Not my cat, but it makes me happy, like this cat, okay? These are more opportunities that are happening. It's happening for guys like Zach Wienersmith. These are some of the folks I profiled in the book. Zach runs his empire from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Saturday morning breakfast cereal would never, ever work in a Sunday comic section, okay? Never. Next to Family Circus, forget it. But that's okay. This dude used to be a closed captionist for a living. He would, speaking of wasted talent, he would listen to the words out of Kim Kardashian's mouth and have to type them down in real time for a living. Soul crushing, right? But now he's doing this. This is his full-time gig. He's got employees. He's got an empire. It's not just the young bloods either. This is a clip from, this is Lester Chambers. This is a photo of his that went viral. What's on the sign is not particularly important. The TLDR for it is essentially, after decades of producing gold records with the Chambers brothers, this man was penniless. Not because he spent the money, because the music industry never paid him. He signed some terrible deals, and whenever he would call, they would laugh. Unfortunately, this was all too common for musicians, especially during the 60s and 70s. It still happens to this day, but here was someone who was now penniless, and he took his grievances to the internet. He took a photo of him with the gold record and the sign, and this photo goes viral. It hits #1 on the R Music subreddit, Facebook, Twitter, everyone's lighting up with this. His fans say, Lester, what can we do to help you? What can we do? So he goes to Kickstarter, creates an album. $60,000 later, Lester Chambers has the first album in this man's life that he himself owned. He owned it. You should hear him. He's 73 now. You should hear him talk about the internet. He sounds like some wide-eyed tech founder. This is just someone who, for the first time in his career, has actually had a direct relationship with his fans, has actually been able to make money from his fans without a predatory middleman. And again, we can't do anything to change what happened to Lester, but for a generation of musicians and creatives going forward now, there are more platforms than ever and growing to allow them to make a living from the work they do and do right by us as fans too. Now, Zach Anner is the other Zach I talk about in this book. Zach Anner has cerebral palsy, and he is an amazing comedian. But now, he's always wanted to host a show. He reached a little bit of internet fame a couple of years ago when his pitch video for OWN, the Oprah network, went viral. He wanted to host a travel show, and it's interesting because not many gatekeepers on TV have ever said, we should have someone on this show who's got cerebral palsy. Why is that? I don't know. I don't particularly care. A bunch of talent agents probably never thought that there was a market for that, but who cares? If Zach Anner has hundreds of thousands of followers, what does it matter what a gatekeeper thinks? That's what he's doing right now. He's got a show. He's living out in LA with Soul Pancake, which is Rainn Wilson's outfit. It's called Have a Little Faith. It's amazing. He's doing the video he wants. He's making a living doing the comedy he wants. He didn't have to go through traditional channels. And again, these are all outliers, but they're clear examples of people who just in the last 5 years have been able to do awesome stuff without traditional means. Now, Debbie Guardino is probably my favorite. This is not for profit. This is not for profit. She is a superhero. She's a full-time public school teacher in Virginia, which already makes her a superhero, but it goes a step further. You see, when she heard about a tornado destroying Joplin, Missouri, she went to her computer. She doesn't have many Twitter followers. She doesn't have a TV show, but she had an internet connection and a lot of tenacity. So she goes on DonorsChoose.org, an amazing nonprofit that gets funds directly to public school classrooms in need. Every dollar goes right to the classroom. She starts fundraising for Joplin. In 2 weeks, this one woman, without any celebrity endorsements, without any TV show, without any Twitter followers, she raises over $500,000 for this community in Joplin. This is amazing. This woman would have been just as awesome 10 years ago, but she wouldn't have been able to have nearly the same impact with nearly the same breadth or speed or scale. But thanks to the internet, she can. And again, this is not a magic wand. This doesn't mean problem solved, world saved, but it means so many more people are doing amazing stuff. And the gatekeepers, who I've illustrated here in top hat and monocle with bags of money, are not gone. Rather, many more of us now have top hats, so to speak, right? Many more of us can now contribute in mass. We can contribute the little bits of money we might be willing to give to a cause. It could be a crowdfunding campaign. It could be anything. It could simply just be our ability to use our internet connections as platforms, as megaphones, to spread the word about things that we think are important. And so while they're not going away, there are just now a lot more people who have these platforms. And yay, internet. It's allowing more and more people, like the ones I talked about, like I hope many of you, to be that maximum level of awesome that you can be. And so please, start now, right? The barriers are starting to fall. They've already come down in so many different speeds in so many different industries, but they continue iterating. We weren't even thinking about the physical world, about the crowdfunding world 5 years ago, and look at what's happened with 3D printing and with the rise of everything from Kickstarter to Crowdtilt and Indiegogo and everything in between. Like, this means more power for us as individuals to bring our ideas to the world. And I want that to happen. I want this word, entrepreneur, knock it off of its pedestal. I think it means have ideas and do them. All right, I don't speak French. I don't actually know. I want it to mean something as simple as that, because entrepreneurs aren't some special type of person, and then there's everyone else. Everyone is capable of having ideas and doing them and being entrepreneurial, and this is the muscle for you to flex. This is the muscle for you to exercise, especially while you're in school, because you have this relative safety net, because your room and board is essentially covered, because you can be more creative now than probably ever again in your lives. So get really good at having ideas and doing them, and embrace the fact that some of them are not going to be great. It could be a weekly blog post, it could be a podcast, it could be a Kickstarter campaign, it could be a subreddit you create, whatever. Just get in the habit of doing things. And that's why I'm taking this message everywhere. We're doing 200 stops now, 77 universities. Those books are not to scale, by the way, because that would be terrifying. Awful, no. But we do have a couple of postcards that I think have made their rounds. If you were lucky enough to get one of those postcards, excellent. Some of you may not know what those are. Mail used to be delivered physically by people with stamps on it. Look, if the Postal Service is still around in April when I get back to Brooklyn, please write down your address. I'm not going to do anything with it. Write down your address and a note to yourself that you want to do something by the time I get back in April. Whatever it is, whether it's finally learn Objective-C and launch your first iOS app, whether it's getting your first Etsy store up because that jewelry you make is so amazing and everyone keeps telling you you should do it. Like, whatever that thing is, write it down, hold yourself accountable, give it to me or one of my cohorts before the end of this thing, and I'll mail it to you when I get back to Brooklyn. Again, hopefully the Postal Service will still be around. But this is a process, and every one of you has the potential to do this amazing stuff. I was lucky enough to get into the Y Combinator network right out of school. And as an ambassador for Y Combinator, I want to bring as many people into that network as I can. So if you're at all interested in founding a Y Combinator company, in being a YC founder, in working at a YC company, they're all hiring, at interning at a YC company, email this address, join at my name, AlexisOhanian.com, because I want to help. Because every single person who I can help be amazing on the internet is one more example that I can give to a journalist or a politician about how this generation is doing amazing stuff.